Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the podcast. First off, you may be wondering why I sound a little funny and maybe the quality isn't that great. Unfortunately, we are snowed in right now and my microphone is at work in my office. So I'm currently recording on my laptop. The quality isn't as good, but hopefully you can hear me okay. And those of you who are being affected by the snow here in the States, I hope you're all doing well, you're staying safe and staying warm. So apologies for that, but hopefully you can hear me fine. And let's get straight to it. So today we're going to be talking about how to be successful on a busy schedule. This is inspired by myself. I've been operating on an extremely busy schedule recently, new job, lots of new clients, all exciting things happening, and I'm doing all this whilst trying to hit my physique goals. Those of you who don't know, I'm currently in my first stage of prepping for my first bodybuilding show. I'll be competing in the figure division hopefully I'm kind of we are shooting for December 2027. I am just coming off my first cut, and then I'll be heading into a mass phase for most of 2026. So it's a building phase, and then I'll enter prep in 2027. So I've been trying to do all of that. That means training, meticulously tracking, plus doing all my other duties with clients, new job, and also having a life outside of that. Making sure we're having time to spend with family, with friends, downtime, and sleeping and prepping and just doing life things. So, and it's been challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it's been pretty busy. Like I said, it's a great position to be in, but it's been very, very, very challenging. And just want to give a shout out to my coach, Mike, who has keeping me sane throughout all of this. And it's been a huge learning curve for me. It really has. So I'm hoping I can pass down some of my tips that have helped me through this, how to navigate busy schedules that make me, one, a better coach, but also hopefully it helps you, and how we can operate on a busy schedule and still get the results we're after. So first things first, and I cannot stress this enough, be friggin' organized, okay? It is one of those things that is often overlooked. You may think you're organized, but you could probably even be a bit more organized. And this takes time to actually sit down and think, okay, what areas of my life can I improve on? What areas of my life are causing me stress? What areas of my life can I maybe even delegate? So when it comes to our health and fitness goals, obviously there's a fitness podcast. So one of the biggest things that help me is meal prepping. So setting aside time to meal prep is huge. And that doesn't mean you have to have all your meals, have all these weird ingredients in your meals and all of them prepped out for every single meal throughout the week. No, this can be simple things. One thing I like to do is meal prep on Sunday afternoons. So I'll cook like a big batch of chicken. I'll do some sort of carb. I'm also meal prepping it's not just me, my husband as well. So meal prepping, veggies. I'll be cutting up peppers, meal prepping broccoli, rice, sweet potatoes, my proteins that I take to my work. So I'll meal prep, usually a batch of 3, but having everything ready to go. Okay, so it's not everything's portioned out, apart from my proteins. It's just everything is chopped up, ready to go, everything's washed. And the things that do take a bit of time, like the chicken, cut, cooked, and that's in a box, it's in the fridge. Okay, so meal prepping is huge. Don't overcomplicate this. Meal prepping, sometimes I see people, or I hear from my clients that, even the meal prepping itself, they're in the kitchen for, 3-4 hours. That's a long, long time. Okay, I will never be in the kitchen for 3 to 4 hours. I'm usually meal prepping, an hour, if that. And what I do is I usually put some music on. I crack open a can of Diet Coke or a ginger ale, and I'll listen to a podcast while I do it and make it fun. It's enjoyable. It does not cause me stress. And it takes about an hour. And this hour saves me so much time throughout the week. So don't overcomplicate it. Okay, write down a list of what you need to do, buy it, and then set aside time on a Sunday afternoon and meal prep and make it enjoyable. Like I said, throw on a podcast, audiobook, put some music on, make it relaxing. It doesn't need to be this big, extravagant ordeal. We're not professional chefs in any way. So just doing things that, really make it simple and enjoyable. The next thing is to have a calendar, have a planner, have a schedule. Whatever that looks like. If you are someone that works 9 to 5, plug in that's your work time. What can you do in the morning? Maybe you have to get up a little bit earlier to get things prepared. Maybe it's doing some setting aside time at night, prepping your gym bag, packing your meals, whatever that is. But have a calendar, have time scheduled, block off, and that way you can stick to somewhat of a routine, somewhat to a schedule. Routine is huge. I cannot emphasize that enough. I actually see this more, clients that have a routine and they have a job or they have certain responsibilities tend to do well because it forces them to be organized. I work with a lot of clients that maybe they don't work or their schedule's pretty flexible, and I notice they don't get stuff done or it takes them longer to do it. It's almost like they can get complacent, but if you're busy and you have a schedule, it's almost like you're forced to, excuse me, that was my email. It almost is like you're forced to be prepared. So, but make sure you have a calendar. I use Google Calendar. I love it. I can color coordinate it for certain different things in my calendar. So clients are a color, my own personal, appointments are a different color, calls are a different color, consultations are a different color, just general meetups, my workouts, everything is color coordinated. I'm a very visual person, so this helps me a ton. But if you're someone that just needs a basic standard calendar, then obviously you don't need to color coordinate it, but Google Calendar is great. So I advise doing that. You can also add to-do lists on it as well. Or if you're old school, I did this for years. I was very much someone who did everything handwritten. I still enjoy doing a lot of tasks, writing things down. I feel like it, helps me retain things better, and also I find it quicker. I can jot down ideas if I'm kind of brainstorming things, or if I'm, doing programs for clients, or even if I'm taking notes. A lot of the time I'll be handwriting it. So whatever is, up personal preference, whatever works best for you, but get a calendar and get organized. The next thing is to delegate. So what I mean by this is if there's certain areas of your life or certain things on your to-do list that sometimes you can get outside help. There is nothing wrong with getting outside help. I have actually just hired my own personal chef. Now that sounds really bougie. When I say personal chef, I've got someone that's going to be helping me out, when I need it. If I've got a really busy week ahead and I won't be able to prep my meals for, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this person is going to do my lunches for me while I'm at work. Now, yes, it costs me extra money, but it relieves so much stress from myself and time. So there's nothing wrong with that. Delegate. If there's people out there that can help you, whether that's, your roommate or spouse, just ask them hey, while I go take a shower, would you mind cutting up the peppers for me? And that example there, speaking from experience. I get my husband to do that for me all the time. And it sounds stupid, because cutting peppers doesn't take up a long time, but it's just one extra task that I don't have to do. And, hopefully my husband doesn't mind doing it, which I don't think he does. Obviously you got to be respectful of other people's time as well, but it goes both ways. They help you out, you can help them out when they need it. But being able to delegate, ask for help. When it comes to your own training and nutrition, this is where coaching can be a huge benefit to you. Okay, not only are you learning a crap ton, but you're delegating. You don't have to sit there and learn everything, do your own programming, nutrition, plus make adjustments to it. Not to mention you're emotionally attached, that's a different, we're going down a different rabbit hole there. That could be a whole separate episode of why coaching can be beneficial, but it's a weight lifted off your shoulders, even if you do have the expertise. Like I said, I'm someone, I know training, I know coaching, I know nutrition, but I've hired someone, and God, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Because I don't have the time to do my own programming, because I've got other clients I need to attend to, but also I know I'm emotionally attached to my results. So that's why I've hired someone. The next thing that kind of falls under this category of being organized is setting boundaries. So also kind of going into that meal prep and the calendar, but having some sort of structure, and don't F with that. Okay, so, and this is something I recently learned, this is something my coach spoke to me about, is, when it comes to my sleep, no one F's with my sleep. I have my consistent bedtime and my consistent wake time, and no one messes with that. Okay, if someone wants me to train them at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, I'm not going to do that because I know it messes with my schedule, my downtime, my sleep schedule. So I don't schedule it. Same with Sunday afternoons. I am not available Sunday afternoons for anyone, really. Well, within reason, if my husband wants something, of course I would do something for him. But typically I try avoid scheduling, like won't have a consultation call with a client Sunday afternoons typically. I try not do anything, schedule dinners or meetups or anything like that, because Sunday afternoons are my time to rest and my time to prepare for the week. So setting boundaries, okay, and sticking with that. So you have your workout times, no one F's with your workout times. You have your sleep times. This is really, really important. No one F's with your sleep times. You have your downtime. Now, this is something I'm practicing, is no one F's with your downtime, okay? Whether that's 30 minutes or an hour at night, where you're just putting your phone away, you're reading a book, you're meditating, you're watching a show, you're spending time with a loved one or, a friend, or you're learning. It's another thing, like studying for the students out there. No one F's with that. And setting boundaries, like this is the time I'm dedicating to this. Like right now I'm sitting down, I'm not doing other things, I'm not answering phone calls, I'm not, meal prepping as I'm recording this. Like this is the time I've set down to record this podcast episode. Okay, so setting boundaries is huge. So all these do go hand in hand. So just to recap, so being organized, that means meal prepping, having a calendar, delegating / asking for help, and setting boundaries. Okay, so the next one, don't sweat the small things. I see this a lot, and this is something that we can easily fall into, something that I sometimes find myself falling into. The more practice I've had with it, the more, I'm recognizing it, and the more awareness is around it, and I can be like, okay, Megan, chill out here, it's not the end of the world. A great example is, like I said, we had snow. Usually I work out on a Sunday morning. The fact I couldn't work out on a Sunday, I was like, oh my God. And I was going to try force it, going to take my husband's car and drive in like really bad conditions, risking my life to go to the gym. And the fact I couldn't do it, and I'm like, oh goodness. And I'm like, right, let's see things in perspective here. One workout, is that really going to mess with my gains? No. So just putting things in perspective. And once I took a shower and just kind of spent 20 minutes really putting it in perspective, I was just like, I kind of laughed at it, honestly. I really did. I'm like, okay, it's one workout. What I'll just do is push it back. If I can get out to the gym today, and I can't even get out to the gym today. So I'm back to my usual schedule starting tomorrow. So it's one workout I've missed. It's not the end of the world. We do not need to sweat the small things. I see this a lot with clients, and I encourage them, life happens, and a lot of the time it's out with our control. Like I said, I cannot control the weather, so why am I worrying about it? Okay, so just being present and seeing things at face value and not striving to be perfect is a game changer, okay? Life happens, so even if you have the perfect schedule, you've meal prepped, everything's in your calendar, and you're scheduled to work out at this certain time and do all these things, and it doesn't happen because the weather hits, that's okay, accept it, life happens, okay? It's the same for everyone, okay? It's not like you're all of a sudden just going to go, and relapse, or go back to your old ways, or, certain things aren't going to get done. Yes, things might be stalled for a little bit, but you don't need to sweat it, okay? Trying to be perfect is impossible. We can strive for it, but to actually achieve it, even then it's arguably, is that even perfect? If you had quote unquote the perfect diet, is that really, really the perfect diet? No, you could be, arguably suffering from orthorexia. Okay, so being perfect is it's unrealistic. What I try and encourage clients is just, don't sweat the small things. Get the fundamentals right. So when I say fundamentals, when it comes to your health and fitness, sleep, eat, train, and repeat, okay? And if there's a day that you can't do or hit one of these things to, what you're typically doing, like yesterday, I could not train. I mean, I can still sleep, eat, and repeat, which I did. Still got my steps in. Still did what I could. Had some extra downtime. Did some stretches, some mobility. So there's so many things that happen out with our control, but it's really hitting the fundamentals consistently over time that reap the best results. Moving on to the next thing, and that is complying to your own expectations. One of the biggest hindrances, and I think that's a word, is social media. Now, social media, for those of you that follow me, of course, I'm very active on there. However, I do have my separation time during the day when I don't go on it. However, I am very, very, very cautious of the information I put into my brain. Who I follow and who I interact with on social media, the posts I share, the posts I put out there. Because there is so much crap out on social media, and it can affect us. Personally, it can affect you by if you compare yourself to others. Also the information you're retaining. The amount of questions I get asked, from clients or just, people in the gym or in the space. And I always say there's no stupid questions, but sometimes these questions can be a little stupid. Okay, and that's just because there's so much crap out there. So really pay attention to who you're following. If you are finding that you are comparing yourselves to others, this is not needed. So just cut it out. Get yourself off social media if you find it's having a negative impact on yourself, on your mental health, then just totally cut it out. But comply to your own expectations. Okay, so the first thing I want to bring up with social media, but the next thing was just because you see someone working out, every single day and it looks like at maximum capacity and they're eating like chicken, broccoli and rice for every single meal, or even if their meals are like so fancy and they've got like all this like kimchi or, weird dressings in it, they're all made from scratch and, they've got their own eggs from their own chickens or whatever it is. This is very unrealistic for most people. Most people have responsibilities. They're either their parents, they've got kids to take care of, they've got real people problems, they've got washing to do, they've got to clean the house, they've got a job, so they've got all these things. Like that's realistic, okay? So if you can get your workouts in, whether that's 2 workouts a week or if it is 6 workouts a week, great. But if your expectations, you've got a really, really busy schedule and your expectations is to get 2 really good workouts in a week, then that's great, okay? It's quality over quantity at the end of the day. So comply to what you can actually do in your life. I don't work out every day. I couldn't. Even if I had the time, I know my body just wouldn't be able to cope with it. Would I like to have a bit more time to work out? Yes, I think I could, physically cope with it. Right now, my schedule doesn't, is not feasible, but I still do what I can that doesn't push the limits of it, okay? So comply to your own expectations in terms of getting the amount of training you can do. And also when it comes to your own progress, whether that's fat loss or muscle gain, comply to your own body, okay? Just because you see someone out there losing, 30 pounds in 30 days or something crazy like that, that's their own doing, okay? You don't know what their starting points are, that you don't know where they've come from or where they're going or what they're doing. They could be on GLP-1s for all you know. Okay, so just comply to your own expectations and try to shut out the outside noise as best you can. Surround yourself with people that you know will help you in your journey, that know you personally. Okay, work with someone who learns your body, learns your routine, learns your stressors, learns where you thrive and how we can keep moving the needle forward. Okay, at the end of the day, it's your own journey and your own success. So whatever else is going out there, whoever anyone else is posting on social media, just do your best to ignore it. It's great seeing people succeed, but again, it's you against you. So what does success look like for you? The next point, and I kind of touched on this at the start of the episode, but being busy is good. One thing that I find, and those of you know me well, I can tend to overthink. I'm very much a thinker, which can trip me up in some aspects, but it's also something I'm so grateful for that I do, I can empathize with people and I'm kind of outside the box thinker, always thinking of different things. But what I find is when I've got too much time on my hands, then this overthinking can be quite negative. You start to overthink the process, you start to overthink your, as my position as a coach, am I doing enough? Should I be doing this instead? Even when it comes to my personal life, should I be showing up a little bit more in these areas? But so being busy is good, and it gives us less time to overthink, but it also forces us to be organized. Like I said at the start, I've noticed a lot of my clients that, maybe that don't work and, their kids are all grown up and they're retired or whatever the case may be, is they're almost less proactive with things than my clients that are, very, very busy. So it forced us to be organised. Be grateful for this. Something I'm really trying to practice a little bit more is to be grateful for the busy life I have. Like it sounds crazy, and some days it's difficult to do when you're just like, I just want to sit down and block the world out and, just chill for a second. But once you have that downtime and you kind of like do have time to just reflect, it's like, I am so grateful that I am in the position I am. I get to do what I get to do, that I have the busy life, that I get to meal prep, I get to eat meals that I want that are macro friendly. There's a lot of people out there that, they have no choice what they have to eat. Some people don't even have choices. Sometimes they don't even have food. Okay, and we're sitting here and we can, choose our own meals and have different things. So practicing a bit more gratitude towards your busy schedule, your busy life, and the abilities that we have to train, the abilities that we have to change our meals and to have flexibility within our lives. Okay, so being busy is not a bad thing at all. Use it to your advantage. So this last point, and going off what I just said about being busy is good and being grateful, is to be a bit more stoic about things. Okay, so Stoicism is obviously a philosophy. Some of you may have heard of Marcus Aurelius, a famous Stoic philosopher. I highly recommend reading his book Meditations. It's incredible. I've already read it once, but it's already on my reading list for this year, is to go over it again and just really, dive into his philosophy. But being stoic, accepting things for what they are, not being reactive to things, realizing that, the struggles in life will make us better, they'll make us stronger, and that no challenge is too small for us. Okay, there's always something that we can do, there's always something we can achieve to strive for, to be better in. And just to be complacent and take the easy route you're not going to get anywhere with that, in anything in life. You've got to put yourself out there, you've got to challenge yourself, you've got to be willing and able, and when you mess up, be stoic about it, okay? Just accept it, just like in golf, accept the shot and move on, okay? Don't be reactive to things. That is definitely something that I need to work on. I've always been working on that. Even when I was playing golf, for my golfing friends out there, yes, I'm still battling that, but it's something I'm getting better at, something that I like to do every morning when I first get up, it's part of my routine, is journal. Okay, now journaling is so powerful. And again, don't sweat it, don't sweat the little things, be very simple with it. Start out by writing out, your to-do list, what you want to get accomplished that day. And then start writing out a couple of things you're grateful for. And also start writing out what your goals are that day. Little things like that, little things that are on your mind, and just any kind of thoughts you have. You can make this as simple or as kind of long as you want. But there's something about the power of writing and writing things down that just hits different, okay? So I don't mean to journal in your notes app on your phone. Like, literally get pen and paper and write it out, okay? So journaling and practicing your gratitude it goes a long, long way. It just puts things in perspective. At the end of the day, you get out of this what you put in, okay? You get to do this. Remind yourself that you get to wake up every single day and you've got an abundance of clothes to choose from, you've got food to choose from. Most people will, you get to go into a nice warm car and drive to a job that you get paid to do, okay? So reminding yourself of these things, that you get to do this, you don't have to do this. When it comes to our health and fitness journey, if you are someone that is, either signed up with me or if you're trying to do this on your own, you don't have to do it, okay? Like, you can throw in the towel at any point. And this is a mindset I remind myself when I, find that I struggle with certain things, or like I said, I'm deep in a cut right now. And one thing that snaps me out of it straight away is I'm like, Megan, like, I could throw in you can throw in the towel now. Like, I can say, do you know what? I've had enough. I'm going to stop doing this prep. And I can do it now if I want to. And as soon as I say that, it's like, okay, like, stop being, an arsehole and just get on with it. And it's like, and once I tell myself that, and I'm like, okay, I actually want to do this. Okay, so it totally flips your mindset. So you don't have to do this, but you get to do this. Okay, and many don't have the opportunity. Okay, so really just see things from perspective and see things for what they are. And this may take practice. Well, probably will take practice, but it may take time as well. One thing that helps me as well is to talk it out with someone, and they can kind of like, they'll validate it because it's true, right? And you never know, you may be helping someone else in the process as well. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up the episode there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, reach out if you have any questions. Feel free to comment. I would love if you could share it, if you can rate it, spread the word. This podcast is growing, which is really cool. We're bringing more people into the space. I've had a ton of consultations and feedback this week, which is incredible. So anyway, I will leave it there. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys next week.